I think it's not the best moment to invest in Iran after everything that happened in the last days. Actually, I don't think that any company considers now.
Now, you support in both directions.
Yes.
Swiss companies wanting to get into Iran, Iran wanting to do business with Switzerland. Now, the Swiss politicians are saying business as usual. Can we really buy into that?
Well, I don't think so, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, it's all about the US business as well. And as soon as a company does business with the US too, it will be affected. And the sanctions will be also against third countries, so companies which are just doing business with Iran. So,
and I think just logically speaking, if a company in Switzerland's doing business with Iran, the US isn't going to be happy about it. So there will be consequences.
Of course, yes.
And now the EU Commission is working, or had worked today, on a statutory blocking, I think it's called, of trying to shield European companies from these US sanctions. Does Switzerland come into that? Are they also protected under this blocking that hasn't been used for about 2 decades, I believe?
Yes, exactly. And it's now they went back and want to go through it again and use it again. And of course, for Switzerland, it will be very important now to see how the European countries, how the EU deals now with the problem, because this will also affect Switzerland. I mean, yeah.
And Switzerland, you don't think, would be a first mover? It tends to wait for other countries to see how it plays out?
Yes, because Switzerland is a bit more conservative than other countries in Europe.
And even when you look at Germany's Merkel, I mean, she's not really encouraging any illusions here. She's also waiting to see what effects these will have. Now, just let's wind back sort of 2 years. 2016, the embargo was lifted. It seemed like there was good hope, lots of hope for business in Iran and vice versa. Just tell me about the work that you've been involved with. Which industries have wanted to really get into Iran?
Actually, most of them are in pharma or medicine, also beauty products and food, of course. And what was also very strong now was everything for the oil-producing system, you know, that has to be renewed because it's very old in Iran.
So the infrastructure.
Exactly. And these were suppliers, pumps, turbines, who wanted or who still want to renew all these systems.
It needs an upgrade, an overhaul. How far along had Swiss businesses got in trying to set up in Iran?
Actually, some of them, they made business even before 2016, like pharma companies and just the medical sector. And the other part started since 2016, and it has increased in 2017. The business has increased by 7.4%, up to, they made like 530 million Swiss francs by doing business with Iran. So it has increased.
And even 200 million Swiss francs in additional exports, I believe, since 2016.
Yes.
And now, can you imagine a situation whereas before you had clients coming in to help, say, you know, help me, I want to set up business in Iran, now coming to you saying, you know, help me wind it down, help me get out of there?
Exactly, and this is probably what will be happen.
You're quite sure of seeing that?
I hope not, but that's what I think, and to be honest, it's what will happen for companies that deal at the same time with the US, or maybe in the future want to deal with the US. It's not even just now; it's also what will happen in the future. Maybe a company wants to let it open, you know,
And Europe trying desperately to salvage this deal, of course.
Of course.
And hopefully there is some hope there. Now, Total, we heard, is trying to get a waiver, a so-called waiver from these US sanctions. Can you imagine a scenario where perhaps Swiss companies could be entitled to such a waiver?
Yes, I mean, again, I think everything that is, for example, in pharma and in the food sector, it's because of humanitarian reasons. It won't probably be affected by these sanctions. But everything that is in the section of oil, gas, I'm pretty sure it will be affected because the US president's biggest goal is to stop the export of oil in Iran. So,
yes, and do you think Europe has a chance to stand alone without the US on this?
I think so, yes.
Strong enough?
Yes, I think now it also, again, for Switzerland, it really depends on Europe, and they have to show that they can be strong.
And you're Iranian-born, actually,
Yes.
and you frequently go back to see friends. How are they feeling in this situation?
I mean, you have two types of people there, the modern part and the less modern, a bit more religious part. And of course, the young modern people are, I mean, the hope is like just, it's a disaster for them because it was a big hope for them since 2016 that Iran becomes more open and more modern. So what happened last week it's sad for them.
And since May 8th, when this decision was taken, the economy has already been impacted, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the value of the money in Iran has been impacted within 1 week. I mean, it doesn't have any value at the moment. 1 Swiss franc is like 8,000 rial, which is like, before it was like 3,500, just to compare what happened within 2 weeks.
And you mentioned about, not Iran not exporting the oil, but this issue of China perhaps moving in there. Do you think that, knowing what we know, that the US president could soften his approach, backtrack?
I don't think so, because so far US is just too powerful. I mean, the US dollar is a lead world currency, so I don't think so. But let's see. I mean, I think everybody's just waiting now to see what is going to happen in the next 6 months, because the sanctions will be in force again from November on, and we are all waiting a bit.
That's right, because like we saw, I mean, the companies that are active there, they're going to have time to wind down.
Yeah.
Speaking of Swiss companies, are they mainly multinationals or the small and medium enterprises that are setting up shop there?
I think there are more medium-sized companies in Iran now. The bigger companies, at least in Switzerland, most of them were still a bit, they were hesitating to do business with Iran because, of course, they have also business with the US, and this could be a bit a problem. And in general, I think Swiss companies are a bit more hesitating in these things. They want just to see first how it's going on with other countries, and then...
And from the legal side, I'm assuming it creates quite a headache on your part. It's so complex, this situation.
Yes, it is.
And so uncertain, that's the issue.
Exactly. It's really also uncertain, and you don't want to advise clients to do something and then they regret it, because at the end of the day, it's...
And if I may ask, if I was a company coming to you today saying, look, I know it's risky, but I want to give it a go, would you advise against it, setting up and trying to increase business activity with Iran?
I think I would advise against it, but I would clearly tell them what the risks are at the moment. I would try to show them the situation, what are the risks, and if they still want to do business, then at the end of the day, it's the client who tells me what he wants. But I have to show first the risk and yeah.
And Iran, I guess, is still up for doing business wherever it can with Switzerland. But the flip side being, are Swiss companies willing to continue to take the risk at this point in time? And what would you be saying to Iranians trying to do business here in Switzerland?
I mean, I would tell them that for the time being, especially now, it's actually, I mean, a lot of people are asking us what's going on now, and it's like very unclear at the moment. I think in 2-3 months we know much more than now. For the time being, it's just very risky, very, very risky.
And it's that pause phase that's risky for everyone, Iranians, the economy.
Yes, for both sides.
Growth prospects.
Yeah, because we don't know yet what's going to happen exactly if Trump, the president of the United States, is going to do sanctions just against Iran or also against third countries, which are doing business with Iran, and what kind of sanctions, etc., etc. So it really depends.
Sanaz, thank you very much. It's clearly a developing story. We've got much more to learn on the topic, but I thank you for your input and look forward to talking to you again about this further down the road. So thank you.